I'm not on the clock, so it's fine.
Yeah,
Who
because
else
we're
is-
going to do the extra. Catherine's supposed to be here.
Okay. Yeah. So
And Kevin's going to get me the BPO.
yeah,
That was kind of a real.
so we don't have a lot of time to talk about NOM, but
Yeah.
I will.
When are you talking with him next?
Well, I want to be. I want to first. This is just all in my head. He sent me his spreadsheet. And his spreadsheet said, if I do this amount of work, and I would earn these targets every quarter, I would get my quarterly bonus based on this amount. And he used average loan size of 250,000 and 2.5 points gross to the house. So obviously, it would be based on real income.
Yeah.
But I'm thinking, well, if we're successful in creating more Jeremys and going after the bigger loans, and our average loan size goes to 500, 750, we're doing lots of $1 million loans. What does it look like if he brings in, 5 million one quarter, in addition to our 5 million, we have a $10 million quarter. I mean, on the one hand, I know he's making more money, but I also have to ramp up the overhead to support that volume. As the volume goes up, it costs the company more money. So,
That's true.
and it's a semi-variable, but
Yeah,
it's not direct, but it's still, I got to hire, I got to do this, I got to do that. The exposure for lawsuits is higher.
Oh,
So
yeah.
when you got a guy taking 20% off the top for his share, and that's essentially what he wants on the loan volume is a 20%.
Hi, George.
George, hey, it's Edward Brown. How are you?
Good, Edward. How are you?
Good. We've got my main co-host here, Mark Hahn, and this is George Hobica from. That is how you pronounce it, right?
Hobica.
Hobica. Okay, let me make sure I got that because I've been trying to do Hobica all this time. Okay, so Hobica. Okay.
Ed
And I go by Edward. Okay, so it's Edward Brown, and I'm the host of the show, and Mark Hahn, Hanf, is the co-host.
okay, great.
And we, George.
Sorry, George. I just came in and got here, and we were just in the middle of a conversation when we realized it was 4 o'clock. We had to call you, so I
Perfect
apologize.
timing.
Here comes our other host. So we're all just arriving and getting ready to record our show.
And this is Catherine Harris. She's a CPA. And
Hi there.
this is George Hobica, who is the president of Airfare Watchdog, which I'm familiar with.
And I am too.
Yeah, it's are you familiar with it?
I've heard of it.
Yeah, it's got that dog. It's got the dog.
It's got the dog.
And it's not a normal dog. It's a different kind of dog.
Yeah, Browser is our mascot.
Yeah.
Oh my God, that's his name, Browser.
Browser. Browser. That's great. That is great. Okay, so let's see here.
Hey George, did you send us some questions, or you
Yes,
want us
I did.
to
Okay, so here.
nail you with unexpected tough questions?
Well, here it
I'm
says,
just kidding.
this is from his assistant. It says,
Okay.
Here's some of the topics George can speak about. Frequent
Okay.
flyer programs, hotel deals. Now, it said here hotel deals for the fall, but we're kind of already in the fall. So
Well, I can just give you some general
Late fall.
general ones. Yeah, exactly. How to avoid fees. Yeah, there's one of those here. How to find cheap airfares this fall. How to make it through TSA. I guess that's go naked, then you don't have any problem, right? Okay, and then top fall destinations, and then tips and tricks for the busy holiday travel season. That sound good?
Yeah, we always like to come up with our own too, George, and obviously we're gonna.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, we're always very nice.
It'll be good. Yeah, no, it always works out really well. We're good at coming up with interesting questions on the fly.
All right. So.
Can you hear us okay, George, on your end?
Yeah, sure. How I can. Yeah. So how long are we going for?
Well, I figured we'd spend the first segment with you, which should be about 12 minutes. Is that okay? Okay. So a lot of stuff to cover here. Okay, so what I'll do is you'll come in when I say, welcome to the Best of Investing.
I'll probably, George, ask you something like, how does your site differ from some of the other sites out there
Right,
that promise
we
low
love that
fares?
question.
Yeah, that's the
Right.
obvious
That's
one,
a
right?
good one. Okay. All right. And then I'll tell you your email questions next time.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. And away
Good.
we go. Welcome. You're listening to The Best of Investing on Talk 910. I'm your host, Edward Brown, and I'm proud to have as my co-host Mark Hanf of Pacific Private Money, one of California's fastest growing mortgage investment firms, and Catherine Harris, CPA of Karate and Karad. Our phone number is 888-912-1190. Use that number to answer the trivia questions for 3 vacations given away during this show. The vacation is not sponsored by the radio station, but by Lighthouse Resort Marina, located 1 hour northeast of San Francisco. Those vacations are free. Their only request is a $75 cleaning fee to cover the housekeeping expenses. Today's trivia theme is classic movies every child should see. Okay? Since you have little ones, Catherine, I figured that would be good.
Okay.
Our website is bestofinvesting.com. Check us out also on television, Comcast Channel 26, AT&T Channel 99, Saturdays at noon, Sundays at 6 p.m. Now, today's special guest is George Hobeika, who is president of Airfare Watchdog, to discuss saving on traveling and best frequent flyer cards, etc. George, welcome to the Best of Investing.
Well, thank you, Edward. It's great to be on the show.
Great.
Hey, so I'm totally familiar with Airfare Watchdog, Edward. I've actually been a subscriber to the Airfare Watchdog. Well, I went on the website and subscribed, and so I get these emails periodically for 2 places that I'm always on the lookout for, which is Cabo San Lucas and Hawaii. And I can't believe how incredible some of the prices that come through are. And
Yeah.
it's really great. And I haven't used yet one to Cabo, but I intend to very soon. I saw something come through the other day that looked very, very compelling. So
Oh, good. And one of the things I appreciate about Airfare Watchdog is they you don't get an email every like 3 minutes. You know, that
It's
drives
not
me
happening
crazy.
every
Yeah.
day, yes, every few hours.
So George, I want to get into the first question here. Frequent flyer programs. I mean, I love them, and I have a few little things that I think are pretty decent. But I'd love to hear from your end.
Well, I think they've changed because Delta and United now requires a minimum spend to get status. But one of the biggest advantages of frequent flyer programs is the status that you get. You get a free check bag and priority boarding and extra legroom seats for free, and sometimes free upgrades to business and first class, although I think those are getting a little bit harder to find because so many people now have status and so many people have miles, and they use the miles to upgrade rather than have the airline give the seats away for free. I think American has a pretty good program still. They don't have that minimum spend yet. They may never. And they also allow you to upgrade from the lowest economy fare for 15,000 miles each way plus a $75 co-fee.
That's pretty good.
So George, I have a question. So the goal, I'm assuming, for Airfare Watchdog is to constantly be on the lookout for ultra-low fares for consumers. And I know that there are a number of sites out there that claim to do that. How does Airfare Watchdog differ from the others out there?
Well, I think the main difference, Mark, is that we are not automated. We have a staff of about 10 people who do nothing all day but go into various search engines, and then they list the fares on our site by departure airport, and each airport, like SFO, has Oakland as well and San Jose as well. And we send out an alert by email when the fare is unusually low or unusually compelling. That's why you don't get an email from us every day. For example, if you sign up for San Francisco to Hong Kong, you might not hear from us for months because the fare hasn't gone anywhere. But as soon as it goes down, we generate an email. We also tweet at Airfare Watchdog. We have about 585,000, 65,000 followers there. So I think that's one difference. And also, we have Southwest Airlines, which nobody else does.
Yeah.
We have Allegiant Airlines, which flies in the Bay Area, for example. Nobody else has that as well. So because we're not automated, we're able to really pinpoint really good deals, and our staff knows when a deal is a great deal. For example, JetBlue started servicing Las Vegas and San Francisco, $67 round trip. That's something we consider to be a really cheap fare.
So you mentioned Southwest that many carriers don't include on their low fare. So do you have access to every carrier?
We do, because Southwest doesn't allow you to scrape fares, so to automate scraping of the fares. So we actually just go in once a day and see if they have a lower fare than anyone else.
Okay.
Often the other airlines match them. Atlanta to Los Angeles, Southwest reduced the fare to $138 round trip, which is amazing.
Wow.
American matched them.
Wow. And I assume that the way you make your money is by people advertising on your website?
We have advertising, and also we sell hotels. Most of the money these days is in hotels and not so much for airfares. The airfares are kind of a lure to bring people in to the site, and then hopefully people also book a hotel.
Yeah, because I know that when I've used, let's say Travelocity, it's usually add a hotel for X, and then
It's efficiency and.
yeah, exactly.
Lack of. Let me ask you. You had pointed out. Can you, if someone's signing up, can they put a request in so they really want very specific information? So, for example, Mark, who really is interested in going to Mexico and to Hawaii, can he put some of that criteria so he only wants to see those type of deals, or is it pretty generic? What's sent out, or what's blasted out, or emailed out, or tweeted out every few
Well,
days?
actually, Catherine, there are three options. There's one specific route. Let's say you only want to go from San Francisco to Cabo. You can say that just send me that when the fare goes down. We can also send you a list daily or weekly or 2 or 3 times a week for all the fares from the Bay Area. So you would see San Francisco, Oakland, San Jose, even Monterey, from whatever's cheap. And the third way is, let's say you're planning a reunion or a wedding and you're the travel planner in Hawaii. You could say, give me all the fares everywhere in the United States or Canada to Honolulu. So those are the three options.
That's good. And then so someone like me who doesn't necessarily travel a whole bunch, but I use frequent flyer cards to build up my points. What are your opinions about which cards do you like the best?
Well, I think they're all good. It really depends on what airline you fly the most. Like if United is a big airline in your neck of the woods, you might want to get the Chase Sapphire card, for example, which gives you double points on travel. Actually, right now they're giving triple points on travel and double points on restaurants. So that's one way to build up points very, very quickly. You can convert those one-to-one to United. If American is your preferred carrier, American has a great program. And of course, every time you get one of these credit cards, they give you 40 or 50,000 bonus points for spending a minimum amount, and you can kind of churn those cards. I think they're getting more strict about that, not letting you do that frequently. But you can do it every 2 years, every 3 years, and you'll get those 40 or 50,000 miles each and every time you sign up with the card. A lot of people get the card and then they do the minimum spend and they cancel it. The credit card companies are not liking that as much as they used to.
Sure.
So we're talking with George Hobico, who's the president of Airfare Watchdog, airfarewatchdog.com, a site you can go to sign up and look for low-price airfares. Now, George, you mentioned that one of your money-making business model is for hotel accommodation. So when I get an email and it says hotel or airfare to Cabo, SFO to Cabo for $250, and that's great, I click on it. Where does that take me? Am I going to the Airfare Watchdog site, and is that where you bring up hotel accommodation opportunities for me?
Well, sometimes it really depends on the airline. If it's a Southwest fare, we provide a link directly to Southwest.com, and then you're on your own. If it's an airfare that's available from more than one airline, you could go to Expedia or Travelocity or Orbitz via our site. But as far as hotels go, we also have a sister product that we developed about a year and a half ago called Tingo. It rhymes with bingo. Tingo.com, and it's exactly the same inventory as Hotels.com or Expedia.com, with a big difference that once you book on Tingo, you will be automatically get a refund if the hotel changes the rate. If the hotel reduces the rate for your stay, one woman recently got $5,000 back.
Wow.
How much did you spend?
I know.
Apparently, it was a very expensive hotel.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
guess so.
And I think she had more than one room.
Yeah.
I recently got $90 back in Las Vegas. I'm going there in a few weeks. The total amount returned to consumers so far is $1.4 million.
And that's only in a year.
$1.4 million richer because of Tingo. It's really an amazing product. Nobody else has really copied it. I think YAPTA, Y-A-P-T-A, has a somewhat similar product, but they don't automatically refund you. They simply alert you that the hotel rate.
Now it's better when they refunded you. It's like, okay, so for a couple of years, I really enjoyed Barclays Travelocity card because I wasn't beholden to any one airline, and I could use the miles built up on any airline I wanted. The problem, though, is first of all, they changed from MasterCard to American Express, so that limited how many vendors would take the card. But then what ended up happening was I built up all these points, and then they'd expire in 90 days.
Mm-hmm.
Start putting limitations like that.
exactly. So I got so frustrated with that I changed over to Southwest credit card.
Right.
We do a lot.
The Sapphire card from Chase also allows you to transfer points to several airlines. One way to the problem with that Barclays card was indeed the expiring miles. And by the way, one way to make sure your miles don't expire, even if you don't travel, of course, besides using a credit card, is to go shopping online. It's amazing how many weeks and miles people miss and throw away because, let's say you're going to buy a computer at Apple for $2,000 or an iPad for $1,000. Recently, I think it was American Airlines was giving 2 American Airlines miles for every dollar you spent at Apple if you go through the Advantage shopping mall. So not only do you get a point using your credit card, but you get an additional 2 points for every dollar you spent. So that $2,000 laptop is suddenly 6,000 Advantage miles.
And the price is the same if you went on.
Exactly.
Okay.
Absolutely. Yeah, and so many companies participate. Crate and Barrel, Staples, at the iTunes Store, Best Buy, Walmart, Brooks Brothers, you name it. There are about 300 merchants that participate, and you should never buy anything online without going through your favorite airline shopping mall, United, Delta, American.
Good. Good.
Wow, that's an interesting tip. Hey, George, what inspired you to create Airfare Watchdog?
Well, there was nothing else like it. There was no listing site, and I think I should emphasize that we are a listing site primarily. So we go out, we do the search, and then we list fares organized very logically by departure airport and by departure area. So the Bay Area, as I said, has 4 airports in it. New York has 5 or 6 airports. And nobody else was doing it, especially listing Southwest Airlines. So it was just a gap in the consumer's arsenal, and we saw that especially when there were like 10 different airlines, they had so many competitive retaliatory airfare sales that people were missing. And I just wanted to let people know about these. Unfortunately, now that with consolidation, there are fewer of these retaliatory, sneak, unadvertised sales, but they still do happen quite a bit.
Well, I like the fact, George, that you're not an automated site. You've got real people researching really low fares and then promoting them. It's not just getting spammy type emails from yet another, retail promoter.
Yeah. Well, I think the great thing about the human element to our searches. Let's say there's a $500 fare from Chicago to say Dublin, but it's in the winter. Okay, that's still a pretty good fare. But what if you could find that fare, which we have done recently for peak summer travel? That's a whole different fare. But most automated systems say, well, it's 500 before, it's 500 now. But so what's the big deal? It's the same price. Well, it's not the same value because the summer fare to Europe is going to be much more valuable at $500 than a winter fare at $500. And that's the kind of thing that our well-trained analysts, many of whom are former travel agents, would put a pinpoint to the consumer. In fact, when we send out an alert, it actually said summer travel to Dublin, or it's winter travel. So we actually let people know, if it's nonstop, for example. So if a fare is slightly higher, but it's a nonstop fare, we might put in the subject line of the alert that nonstop. So the differences are sometimes very important to the value of the fare. It's not just the exact price of the fare.
Okay. Hey, George, I would love to ask you about 80 more questions, but we're kind of limited on time. So we're definitely going to have you on again. But I do want to ask one last question here, because we are going to be getting into the busy holiday travel season. Next time we have you on, we'll ask a bunch of other great questions that we wanted to ask you. We're just unfortunately short on time. So tips and tricks for the busy holiday season. What can you share with us?
I think it's important to realize that if you are picky about the seats that you choose, the flight times that you choose, nonstop versus connecting, you really want to book sooner rather than later, because there might be a sale or a deal later on or last minute, but it's going to be the 6 a.m. flight connecting through Cleveland, and it's going to be a middle seat. So I always tell people for peak holiday travel, if you really want the best experience, you want to book sooner rather than later. And of course, the old advice, travel on the holiday, Thanksgiving morning, come back the Saturday after Thanksgiving, travel on Christmas Day or maybe Christmas Eve, and come back on New Year's and New Year's Eve, you're going to get the lowest fares.
Gotcha. Okay, we've been talking with George Hobiga, president of Airfare Watchdog. Go to airfarewatchdog.com, sign up for his, I guess basically for his email, and 500,000. How many actual members do you have?
I think it's 565,000 Twitter followers, but we have several million subscribers.
That's almost as many listeners as we have on the show. All right, George, thank you so much for joining us on the Best of Investing.
It's been my pleasure, guys.
All right.
Thank you.
Well,
Awesome.
I wish we could spend like a whole day with him. He's got so much good stuff. So that's
I'm really
Airfare
pleased to
Watchdog.
hear that he has individual members going through there and scanning for those low fares.
Yes, you don't hear about that nowadays.
No,
Especially with having Southwest and like JetBlue.
Yes.
Don't get though. That's
That is
unique.
It's a real
Exactly,
coup,
yeah.
Yes.
I know. I've gone I think it's Travelocity. If I'm not mistaken, they don't even allow you to even look at what Southwest has.
That's true.
They have all the other ones. So, okay, we're going to cut to our first commercial break here, and the trivia question is: classic movies every child should see. Name the 1927 movie where a reject of the Confederate Army during the Civil War, Buster Keaton, takes us on a wild train ride as he plays a train engineer who pursues a train stolen by Union soldiers. The non-stop action includes a number of wild scenes, including an entire Civil War battle. All right? So, we're going to do a phone call. 888-912-1190, and make sure to include your name and your email address. Speak slowly. Spell out your email, one letter at a time. And don't touch that dial, because the Best of Investing will be right back.
Is there a holiday?
Just classic,
classic.
classic movies every
I was
child.
like holiday. I'm like, wait.
Yeah, it's not a holiday one. All right.
What do you got for us, Catherine?
Mine
What did you
is.
bring?
I'm not sure if you guys, when you were in school, if you had money lessons.
Money
These
lessons?
are money lessons that we need to teach our kids. That kind
There
of
you
We
thing.
had
go.
no
Good.
money lessons. Are you kidding? We went to school in the 60s. They just
Yeah.
like,
Well, it's not, it used to be when you used to open a bank account with, and you'd learn about interest.
Yes,
It's not like
that's true.
they're
Yeah.
way back when they're.
So it's funny. I was just talking about that. How I used to teach over at the North Bay Christian Academy High School, because I said, no one ever teaches kids about money, and so since it's a private school, they let me come up with a little curriculum.
No, it's great. It's desperately needed.
so you want to lead with that on the next one? Talk money?
Sure. Okay, and the email question.
Yes, okay, man.
Mark, if you mostly do equity-based lending, would I have to personally guarantee a loan?
Okay.
And Catherine, can you explain the wash sale rules? Does it only apply to losses? What about gains?
So that would be the third?
yeah.
Yeah, so second one. What else you got? Is that
That was it. But
That's
I
it.
mean, it
Okay,
kind of
that's
blends
good.
with. You guys can kind of chime in if I'll ask you if there's anything that you wish your parents taught you
Totally.
Oh, yeah.
about budgeting and saving.
All right. And away we go. Well, welcome back to the Best of Investing. I'm Edward Brown, your host, along with Mark Hahn and Catherine Harris. When we come to the first commercial break, we asked this trivia question. These are classic movies every child should see. Name the 1927 movie where a reject of the Confederate Army during the Civil War, Buster Keaton, takes us on a wild train ride as he plays a train engineer who pursues a train stolen by Union soldiers.
I have no clue.
The General. It's actually one of those classic. I think it's a silent movie if I'm not mistaken. But okay, the other ones.
Bunch of these.
Don't worry, the other ones are after 1927.
Okay.
Okay. Now,
It might be silent.
all right, Catherine, you got some good stuff you want to talk about.
Well, I got this great article in my inbox talking about back to school and budgeting and talking to your kids about financing and financial planning and just financial lessons. It's been a topic of conversation, and I imagine it's been a topic of conversation for you guys as well. I actually had a friend start teaching a class at a private high school because she's like, there's no education about credit cards and mortgage and amortization of loans. So
Totally, that is so true. I mean, we were talking off the air that, did you guys ever have a class or taught anything like that? And Edward and I are the same age. We went to elementary school in the 1960s and high school in the 70s, and they never taught things about savings and interest rates and compound interest.
That can be a good thing or a bad thing.
That's because they only had 5 numbers in the system. You're old. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's it. Okay.
Exactly. So it's now kind of more on parents, especially with student loans in the position they are in college, and a lot of college not being as affordable as it was in the, I would dare say even 90s, but 80s, 70s, and 60s. People need to be better prepared so that when they do finish college and they go out in the world, they can actually start to enjoy life and not have this huge financial burden.
Well, especially, it's interesting because the late 70s, early 80s, interest rates were, I remember money market accounts were 16%.
Right, when they shot up in the late 70s. No, that's what I was thinking more of is I wished I had known about the magic of compound interest at a young age.
Yes,
and that's
we
what
talk about this. You
Einstein
told me
said
some of the things
yeah,
that
that's
you
what
learned.
Einstein
Now that
said.
I'm in my 50s, it's like, why was I in my early 10s and teens and 20s, socking away even the littlest bit of money over time, even at a relatively conservative compound interest rate. I mean, just phenomenal returns.
Come on, give us a Homer Simpson.
So here are a couple things different for advice for children and for parents to discuss. Different ages, of course. This one is with regards to college students. Talk about with your college students about learning how to delay making big purchases and assessing the cost, especially now in the use of credit cards. And they also kind of go on to be aware of the risk of credit card offers. And I would even go as far as now, if you go in to go buy just a bed, you get 4 years of interest-free financing for a bed. Sounds fantastic. Sign me up.
Sure.
But they don't but the terms of that agreement oftentimes is you have talk about compounding, have an interest rate of around 20%. And if you don't pay it back within that 4 years, it compounds the entire 4-year period.
Oh,
So
okay.
when
So
you-
it's kind of a delayed.
Ouch.
Yeah,
So it's
okay.
it's forgiven if you're paid within that 4-year period.
Gotcha.
So delay these big purchases is people often, children, kids, adults, all have a tendency to just, let's put on a credit card, these big purchases, the desire of the want, and this will fulfill me. Oftentimes, once you go and charge that big purchase, you're onto something else that you want.
That reminds me of a credit card that I still have, which is for medical expenses specifically. And when you go charge medical expenses on this card, it's interest free for X number of months if you pay the balance in full before the end of that 12-month period. And if you don't, then they go all the way back to the time that you had the service.
Yes,
same thing. That's what
exactly.
she's talking
But
about.
I've never even heard of it with
And that's-
medical. That one's a new one.
Yeah, and recently, and I'm embarrassed to admit this, but I was usually pretty good at putting in the dates on my calendar. So I got to pay off that balance by a certain date. I missed it by a couple of weeks, and I had to pay $500 in interest that I otherwise would have been forgiven.
Yeah.
So there are those credit cards out there for medical expenses that are interest free for 12 to 18 months, but you have to be careful. They make a lot of money by getting that compound
by not
interest on
reminding
it.
you
So
that
they don't-
you're-
No, they didn't remind me at all.
Of course, no, they don't want
It's
to.
not- no, but you know what I've done is had a situation kind of similar. So instead of just putting it on my calendar, in addition to that, what I did was I went to electronic banking and I said, pay this bill by April 13th or whatever, knowing it was due by April 30th. Just have to make sure that you have enough money in the bank. But that way, it's like, oh yeah, that's right.
Well, there's no excuse
Well,
anymore with all
if
the
anything, I imagine the bank fee might be less than if you don't have enough cash in your bank.
Yes,
And it goes, it might even be
exactly.
better than the interest rate.
Yeah.
with all the automations now. There's really no excuse for not automatic bill pay. But the thing is what I found out also the hard way is that you can set up certain bills for auto pay. Like let's say my car payment. One of my car payments is on auto pay, but some banks won't let you keep that open indefinitely, that order to make that payment, and they won't always necessarily notify you, or maybe it ends up in your spam filter that after 12 months it times out, and now you think it's being made automatically, and it's not. and then you get dinged with a late charge, and it goes on your 30-day late on your credit. So it's really
I haven't heard that. That's a good point. Because I've got mortgages on a building, let's say, and that I've had for a few years. And I mean, I guess my bank unfortunately hasn't done that, but I've got it set up automatically on the 28th of the month.
Yes.
That's due on the 1st. That
Yes.
way, even though I got
Just
to the
in case.
15th. Yeah.
Yes.
But wow, thanks for letting me know. Now I can't sleep tonight. Now.
I was gonna go through his
Yeah,
calendar and all
exactly.
my things.
I gotta look through every one of
All
them.
your auto pays. I know I probably have like 50 things that are auto paid. So
Well, it gets
invariably
front-
one of those are going to time out, and I won't even know that.
Well, the most frustrating thing is when the credit card gets compromised, and then they and I've got some stuff that are automatically done on the credit card, and now I have to redo it all
yes.
over again. And I've had that, and then 2 weeks later it happened again.
Oh
my
man.
gosh, it's like.
Oh. And then that's when you only got around to it. You know you don't do it on day one. You have to.
Of course.
Yeah, you only have to
on
spend
the
like your
weekend.
entire day,
Yeah.
calling and waiting on hold, going through voicemail hell to get to somebody who could actually change your
Yeah,
auto deduct.
that's it. Exactly.
The next one, life insurance. Life insurance is a tough sell for millennials. They just don't think that it's applicable to them. It doesn't apply to them.
You're never going to die.
That's it. Well, the thing is, rather than thinking that, oh, I'm not going to die, it's how much more expensive is it going to be if I wait 10 or 15 years?
And
That's what it really comes down to.
they really do, and that's where they start. The article goes on to say that they found that 26% of millennials cite saving for a vacation as a priority over purchasing life insurance.
Of course, because they can enjoy their vacation.
Yeah.
Life insurance
60%
really is.
of millennials say it's more important to pay for expenses like internet connection, cable, and cell phones than purchase some or more life insurance.
I can't necessarily say that's dumb.
There's someone argued, like, could you live without your cell phone? I mean, nowadays, or how much the cost of a cell phone is. I mean, now, I think they're starting to have where you can pay the installments.
Yeah.
So I mean, you're now paying a good. I mean, I remember even with the 2-year plan, I think I got a cell phone for $200. But then you pay.
Free.
It used to be free.
The
Now
sales tax.
then you pay the sales tax of $200.
Yes.
And then you have to get the everything else that has to come with it, and you're out the door $600.
Forget it.
And
I'm going back to carrier pigeons.
Yeah. But you think about how often you use your cell phone and what you use it for, and it.
And I don't use my life insurance all the time. Thank goodness. Like I said, it's always a good day when I wake up and I don't have a toe tag on.
Yes.
All right.
But it's a good thing to talk about with your kids, or let them know that, especially when if they're about to start a family, that even in their 20s and 30s, and they don't know. They don't even think to ask how much does it cost, and oftentimes it's so inexpensive.
That
Give up at least a latte. You only have to give up like 2 or 3
that's true.
at the rate they
It
cost.
is very, very inexpensive. In fact, that's why I help people out when they do call our hotline, our 888-912-1190, and then I'll help with the insurance, tell them how cheap it really is. And in fact, when I wanted to talk to my kids about finances, the first question they ask is, "Well, how much are you leaving me when you die?"
That is their finance.
Yeah, exactly. That's a financial plan.
They get upset when you can't go on vacation, Dad.
Yeah, you're spending my inheritance.
Yes.
All right. Is there anything else you wanted to?
No.
Add? Okay. Tell you what, because we ran over on the first one, we want to give you guys enough time on the other stuff. So we're going to go to our second commercial break here, and the theme again is classic movies every child should see. Name the 1952 movie where a silent movie era pair of movie stars take their first step into the talkies. Unfortunately, the female star's voice is displeasing to the ears, so another woman is brought in as a voiceover. The male star falls in love with the young woman and the replacement voice, much to the irritation of his female co-star. Kind of give you the whole thing there. All right?
1952 drama.
Yes. The first caller
Real
with the
drama.
correct answer is going to win a free 3-day, 2-night stay at the Lighthouse Resort. Call 888-912-1190 to answer that question. All right? Stay tuned. The Best of Investing will be right back. All right.
Yeah, you don't have to repeat all that.
No, I don't. I ran into this guy at the Bay Club who I've been trying to get as a fund investor, but he's very anti everything. But in talking to him, it's interesting. He's got a friend who needs our services rather than being an investor. The guy is, and I'll probably bring this up again to you during the show, but this guy is, he's retired. He lives in a house that's worth $3 million free and clear, and it's time to downsize to $1.2 million. But he hasn't found that house. It's one of those, get the house first, right?
Mhm.
He can't qualify for a loan.
No.
$3 million free and clear house. Can't qualify. Because he can't qualify for the $1.2 million loan. Sad, So he has to sell his house and rent something until he finds something. I mean, it's just, it's not a good situation.
Well, I imagine it's something that I would
That
do
he
next
could go to
week.
work for.
Yeah,
Okay. Yep. All we ready.
that's where just logic does not
I
connect.
know.
It's just
But
frustration.
they have to treat everybody the same. That's the problem. Okay, here we go. Welcome back to the Best of Investing. Again, I'm Edward Brown, your host, along with Mark Vaughn and Catherine Harris. We cut to the second commercial break. We asked this trivia question that's classic movies every child should see. Name the 1952 movie where a silent movie era pair of movie stars take their first step into the talkies. Unfortunately, the female star's voice is displeasing to the ears, so another woman is brought in as a voiceover. The male star falls in love with the young woman with the replacement voice, much to the irritation of his female co-star.
I want the wind.
No, but if I name the movie, you're going to know it. Singing in the Rain.
So who is the woman with the displeasing voice?
Oh gosh, yeah, you mean in real life? I don't remember, but it's Fred Astaire and Gene Kelly and who's he? What's it? Okay, now before we move on, let me remind people next week. Actually, this week we're having our special trivia contest where the winner is going to get a 2-night stay at the Avalon Lodge in Lake Tahoe.
Ooh.
Yes, and
Great
the
time
Avalon.
of year to go.
Oh, I know, but well, you have a choice of when you want to go. So the Avalon Lodge, first of all, they'll leave out their website and their phone number, avalonlodge.com, pretty simple, 775-783-1175. They have fireplaces in the room. They have great amenities, and most are complimentary, like a light and healthy breakfast, activity gear used, such as bikes, kayaks, and snowshoes. And in every room, they have a French press coffee, they have free Wi-Fi and robes. Just steps to all things fun, walk to the lifts or lake, seasonal pool, year-round hot tub. Again, check them out, avalonlodge.com. Here's the question, and I'll give you the rules. Almost 1 out of 10 people have squirted this in their eye. What? Now, here are the rules. No previous winners on the Best of Investing contest. You need to email Edward at bestofinvesting.com the answer by midnight tonight, and next week we'll announce the winner amongst the correct answers. Okay, let's see. We have an email here from Mark. It says, Mark, if you mostly do equity-based lending, you'll have to explain, because you've explained that before at the show, would I have to personally guarantee the loan?
Great question. So, for anyone who's a new listener out there, I am Mark Hanf. I'm broker and president for a company called Pacific Private Money. We're a private money lender, basically alternative to bank real estate financing is what we do. When the bank says no, we oftentimes say yes. I don't say that we always say yes because we can't do every loan out there, but we have been doing privately funded loans in the Bay Area here since 2008. We've done well over 1,000 loans to real estate investors, contractors, and people in need of a fast loan to be competitive in this marketplace. Maybe you might need a short-term bridge loan to buy property quickly. It's one of our most popular products right now is the bridge loan product, where you can borrow money from us to be able to buy a home and close by next Friday, and then with no prepayment penalty, you can pay us back whenever you get that bank loan. And with the new so-called TRID laws that have gone into effect this beginning of October, there's going to be a little bit of a stutter step in the mortgage industry. Well, at least we predict there's going to be one where bank financing is going to be even more difficult to obtain and take potentially longer to close, which is not going to be good when you're trying to buy a home and get a bank loan to buy it in this competitive marketplace. So more on that maybe next week's show. So the question was, since
You mostly do equity-based.
we mostly do equity-based lending, what does that really mean? Well, private money lending is also known as hard money lending. term. Both terms are used to describe the type of financing we do. Private money or hard money, it's used interchangeably. The term hard money, many believe that term came from the idea that the loan is based on a hard asset, that you're not making a loan to a person, you're making a loan basically based on the property itself, the equity in the property. And so some people also refer to that as an equity-only loan. So if someone comes to me and they've got a piece of property that's worth $1 million, they want to borrow $500,000, there's no debt on it, I'm making an equity-only loan in the sense that I'm looking at the property, the value of the property, the marketability of the property. If I like it, I'll lend on it. Maybe I won't pay a whole lot of attention to who the owner of the property or the borrower is, and maybe they have bad credit, maybe they need the money for who knows what. Many lenders in this industry don't really care a whole lot about the borrower at that point. They just say it's 50% loan to value, it's a marketable property, we'll make the loan. It's based on equity, and we don't need a personal guarantee, we don't need tax returns, we don't need this, we don't need that. Now, I will say that the industry in this new era of Dodd-Frank, after 2009, after the mortgage meltdown and all the lending reforms, even our business, even the private money lending business, the hard money lending business, we are now more regulated today than ever before. So we're actually, in many situations, depending on whether the property is owner-occupied or whether the use of the money is for a consumer use as opposed to a business or investment use, these all change the regulations and the laws that protect the borrowers. So many of the laws that were passed by Dodd-Frank were designed to protect the borrower and make it harder for lenders to take advantage of poor borrowers. So they're also known as anti-predatory lending laws. So there isn't a lot of, it isn't as much an equity-only lending scenario in today's lending environment as it might have been, say, 20 years ago. But there are still situations where people come to us and it's not their primary residence, which have more regulations. Maybe it's an investment property they're looking to buy. They've got 30% down. They need a 70% loan to complete the purchase. Maybe they're going to remodel and flip it, or maybe they're going to hold it for rental income. In those situations, we typically do not ask for a personal guarantee. Even if it's an LLC buying the property, we figure, hey, they're coming in with 30% down. That's real skin in the game. And we like the property. We believe it's a marketable property. Therefore, we can do loans without personal guarantees. And in fact, many private lenders in the Bay Area take that position in that situation.
Is there more of like a competition too, where maybe another lender would require it, and so in order to get the deal, you have to drop that provision?
I don't remember that happening per se, but I do also know that, depending on the situation, if we feel that, particularly on a refinance, on a purchase with 30% down, we don't necessarily need tax returns, we don't necessarily need a personal guarantee. Maybe their credit score tells us a pretty good story that gives us a comfort level, but maybe they come to us and they want to do cash out financing on property they own. And they're asking us, what's the maximum amount I can pull out of this? And if we ask them, well, what it's for, and they're a little bit coy about it, or their story is inconsistent, now we're saying, well, maybe we should dig a little deeper. So now maybe we'll ask for, can you show us your tax returns? Because again, we want to make sure that when we make a loan that they're going to be able to pay us back. We're looking for an exit strategy. So
I appreciate the fact that you dive in deep, and so for your investors, you're actually doing the due diligence. That's a good thing.
right, and so on a refinance, it's more likely that a private lender or hard money lender will in fact ask for a personal guarantee, especially if they're a little bit uncomfortable with what the use of the money is, because there's always that fear that maybe they're equity stripping the property, trying to pull out as much money as they can,
and walk away,
and then potentially, or and then if we have when we have another cycle in the market, if real estate prices dip, and all of a sudden they decide, they can't afford to make the loan payments, they go, it's there's only a little bit of equity in there, we'll just walk away from it.
Exactly.
So generally speaking, when you're buying a home, do you guys usually have, more often than not, do you have a personal guarantee or not?
More often than not, we do not
Yeah.
require a personal guarantee.
In fact, you're not allowed to on a
Well, you're not allowed
Well,
to do, you don't do a personal guarantee if they're buying the home in their
their
name.
name, because they're basically.
Right, you can't guarantee your own
Your own
loan,
loan.
yeah, but if you're
That's
buying
what
it
I'm
in an
thinking.
LLC, some lenders will require you to sign a personal guarantee. Now, we don't on a purchase, but on a refinance, if you're refinancing and you're refinancing out as an LLC, now, depending on the situation, we may, if we decide we need more comfort, we might go, you know what, we'd really like you guys to personally guarantee this loan. If they say no, then that gives, that gives you information, that's okay,
Yeah,
well,
exactly.
why,
Why, yeah.
what's, what, are you hedging your bets on this?
Yeah, really. For more information,
You can go to our website, pacificprivatemoney.com, or give us a call. We're right here in the Bay Area, 415-883-2150 for more information on alternative to bank financing.
all right, and Catherine, we have one here for you. Can you explain the wash sale rules? Does it only apply to losses? What about gains?
It's always a good question. Let's see if I can articulate.
And
in-
what are wash sales?
That's my
Yes,
first
it's-
question.
Yes. My name is Catherine Harris. I am with Prod and Crod CPAs. We're a full-service accounting firm here in Larkspur. Wash sales. Wash sales is associated with stocks. When you sell a stock for a loss, the strategy is you have a loss in the stock and you think the value wants to go up. So maybe from a tax strategy standpoint, you want to sell that stock, get those capital losses. Maybe you have another major capital gain you want to offset those losses with. And then you turn around and buy that stock 2 days later. The IRS says, no, you can't go and capture these losses, bank them, or use them against other possible stock that you had sold that had appreciated in value, and turn around and buy those shares back and potentially build up the gain in the future. I'm trying to say,
Well,
if I
but
can best
basically, it sounds like
explain
you have the idea of being able to take your losses, but then, oh, by the way, I still own the stock,
that. Yes,
effectively. Yeah.
exactly. Yes, and reap the benefits of those losses now and have to pay for the potential gains at a later date. That is what a wash sale is when you buy, or excuse me, you sell something at a loss and you try to go and within, I think it's 30 days, you buy it back, so you again essentially still own that stock. That loss is not allowed to be used.
Does that apply to gains?
It does not.
Okay, so you can do that.
like
then.
most people, how about the government wants their money. They want it usually sooner rather than later.
Yeah.
So case in point, when you got gains and you want to kind of capture those gains now, and
Yeah, that's a good. So that you're allowed to do. I mean, that's actually okay then to go ahead
it is.
and lock those gains in.
So that's the a great strategy. Should you have a loss from another investment, oftentimes that comes across when maybe you're in an investment with a limited partnership or some other investment, maybe rental property you finally sold and you may have a loss there, where you might want to take the strategy and hey, let's get some built-in already realized gains.
So you sell your stock at a big gain, lock that in, and then
offset
buy it right back.
Buy it right back. You can use those to offset any losses where your losses are capped at $3,000 a year.
And then you
So
got a high basis
yes.
in the stock.
In the new stock, and especially if you have no real concern, if you think that if you really like that stock and you feel that it's strong that it's going to appreciate in value, you really don't take much of a risk for it.
So I would think now we're in October and there's only a few months left, and the stock market has been quite wild these last few years. I would think that people should be giving you a call to at least discuss these strategies to one way or the other, because they have to look at their entire tax return to figure out what's going to happen.
Oh yes, I mean I usually recommend clients to talk with their. I know October 15th isn't here, and some people haven't actually filed their 2014 tax return yet. We will not point out people, but it is still a good time because you only have 3 more months to execute whatever any trades or put money into your retirement plan, or sell stock at a loss. You only got 3 more months to do it, though you've got another year to report it.
That's right. Okay, so how do people, we're going to have to get to a break, so how do people get a hold of you if they want to ask those questions?
They can reach me at 415-461-8500.
Great. Thank you very much, Brodie Grant. That's Catherine Harris, CPA. Okay, last trivia question here. Name the 1957 movie where a jury is asked to make
Can
a
we get
decision.
something from the sixties and?
No, but these are
I guess
classic
it's
movies. I want you
classic.
to see. Name the 1957 movie where a jury is asked to make a decision on a seemingly cut and dry murder case. However, the dissent of one juror slowly infects his colleagues as he makes a strong case for reasonable doubt. Right? First caller with the correct answer is going to win a free 3-day, 2-night stay at the Lighthouse Resort. Call 888-912-1190 to answer that question. Stay with us. The Best of Investing will be right back. And he went over. Uh-oh.
Like 5 minutes.
Pretty close. Hold on.
You sure?
I mean, George took a long time. It was good though. But,
No, it was really good.
And I mean, we didn't even get into a lot of the questions. Anything you want to cover, Mark?
I've got articles that if we don't cover them, they'll be good for next time.
Okay.
Yeah. Most of it's just boring, real estate stats. No, I do though. I've got the Case Shiller stuff and also about the rough quarter.
Okay.
And what do we expect
What would be much
in the
time
fourth
beyond?
quarter? Since we're talking stocks.
I did
Yeah, so all
something
this-
crazy.
You did?
I've invested my 401k for whatever, and I set it up maybe 10 years ago. This summer, like in July, I was like, you know what? I'm gonna sell. I sold all the stock, put it all in cash. I was like, I need to reassess where everything is, and that was 2 weeks before
Oh,
things
really?
went crazy. Yeah. So I had, if you compare it to the stock market, like where annual loss or where we have this year to date for S&P or the Dow.
Yeah, we have you ready for this? We have 3 minutes and 46 seconds.
Oh wow, that's
Okay.
a record low. I
That's a
think.
record low, yeah. The first two 27. This last one's 14. 41.
Wow, that was
Wow. I know. Last one, day. Okay. That's why I'm going to read this really quickly, see if you guys know the answer to that one. Give Mark a quick minute to hit it. Right, here we go. Welcome back to the Best of Investing. Edward Brown, Mark Hahn, Catherine Harris, we're all here. Name the 1957 movie where a jury is asked to make a decision on a seemingly cut and dry murder case. However, the dissent of one juror slowly infects his colleagues as he makes a strong case for a reasonable doubt.
With the movie named Reasonable Doubt.
No, 12 Angry Men.
ah.
I'm sorry. These are hard questions. Okay, Mark, real quickly, give us last minute.
I know we went
way
on
over.
that earlier segment, so I hope you guys enjoyed our interview with the founder of Airfare Watchdog. I thought that was great. But we were talking a little bit about the stocks and the what was that term again that we
Wash sales.
Wash sales. But I've got an article here that's titled "After a Rough Quarter, Investors Buckle Up. More large price swings are expected for stocks. That is heading into a month that is associated with market tumult." That's an interesting
Oh,
word.
Like
wow.
tumultuous.
Yeah, so October, we all remember the
Yes.
October swoons of 1929. Well, I don't remember that, but I read about it. 1987, I remember that day very well. When the stock market dropped 500 points when it was only at 2,500 to begin with.
And remember October 16th, the Friday before, it also dropped a lot.
Yeah, and then 2008, of course, that was the start of the so-called mortgage meltdown. So, this is giving analysts and traders pause. So we just entered a quarter where basically all the major index went down 7%. It was 6.9 for the S&P. The Dow was down 7.6, and the composite was down 7.4. So essentially, they were all down 7%. So again, if you're in it for the long haul, you normally don't want to get too caught up in all of this. But there's more and more articles coming out saying you might want to expect the market to underperform in the coming quarters and years after a really great 5-year run.
Well, yeah, because
Yeah.
before that, wasn't it that they called the 2000 was the year of the lost decade from 2000 to 2010?
Yeah.
Yes, it
It
was.
basically just kind of went up, went down, just
Well,
I
the last 5 years have been fabulous
Yeah.
if you've been a stock investor, but it's hard to know. It's a really hard decision to make. So I don't envy anyone with a large stock portfolio right now, wondering, do I sell? Do I hold? Do I move it into a mortgage pool fund like the Pacific Crowd Equity Fund? We'll talk a little bit more about that next week.
next week. So give out your information one more time, each of you.
So for information on alternative bank financing or information on how you can earn 8% or more on your savings or IRA
With
accounts.
not so much risk.
With no stock market risk. In fact, give us a call at Pacific Private Money, 415-883-2150. That's pacificprivatemoney.com. Catherine?
And if you need some tax strategy, please give me a call. I'm Catherine Harris with Prod and Crod. I can be reached at 415-461-8500.
Thank you very much. Okay, here's our skiing thoughts for the day. Dave Barry said, skiing combines outdoor fun with knocking down trees with your face. And skiing is the art of catching cold and going broke while rapidly heading nowhere at great potential personal risk. Love that one. Okay, tune in next week to The Best of Investing. We're going to be giving away more free vacations for answering trivia questions. Thanks for listening. On behalf of our team, I'm Edward Brown. We're wishing you the best of investing. So long.
Right before the
That's
music.
it. Yeah. 10 seconds.